do such unscripted. Oh, do I even know what this video's about? Nope, not really. Cute. Hey y'all, it's Tate. Welcome back to the channel, which you are watching currently because you clicked on the video or it autoplayed. If it autoplayed, then I don't know how I'm that famous. So as you can tell by the title, today we are doing one of the 5 Percy Jackson videos that I'm doing for Demigodathon. If you don't know what Demigodathon is, I will put up a link, whichever side it is, for the announcements video to explain what it is. Basically, it's a read-along of the Percy Jackson series, but that gives you more info about when the dates are, spoiler alert, it started, and all of that fun stuff. So go check that out. Basically, all of us co-hosts are doing one video per book, so like one video a week, and it's just kind of whatever we want to do. So for each video I do, I'm gonna do like a little mini review of the book, just kind of like what were my thoughts on the book, just kind of the way I do in a wrap-up, just individually, and then I will also have some other video along with it. Today, since I'm a mess and I hadn't been able to film yet and I've been moving, I'm just gonna do kind of a discussion, kind of talking at you about how I fell in Percy Jackson, kind of my experience with Percy Jackson, why I fell in love with Percy Jackson the first time, my thoughts kind of going into this. I'm so unscripted. I'm just gonna ramble at a camera until I have to stop. So I first read Percy Jackson when I was in 5th or 6th grade, I think. That was, oh God, we're not gonna do the math. That was 9 or 10 years ago. That's nasty. That's nasty. Wait, no, wait. Wait a second. Yeah, 9 or 10 years. No? What the fuck? Wow, I'm really struggling with math today.
3 hours later.
8 or 9. 8 or 9. Wow, that was a lot of effort just to get the words 8 or 9. Yeah, I first read Percy Jackson in 5th or 6th grade, so 8 or 9 years ago. That's a long time ago. I don't remember how I picked it up. I think my siblings had probably already read it, and so I read it because that's how I read most things. I'm in a family of 5 kids. Most books I read because they were already in my household or from the Scholastic Book Fair, which, God bless Scholastic Book Fair. Can we please bring that back for like adults and teens? Like, oh my God, it would be so good. It would be so good. Get on it. The funny thing is that it was long enough ago that I don't remember a lot about my first time reading Percy Jackson, besides that I loved it. I do remember when I first got into it, I was like sure that Percy and Annabeth were gonna get together, but then they weren't together by like the 2nd or 3rd book, and I was like, oh man, is it ever gonna happen? Because I was not used to any romance that did happen not happening within like a book, because I'm not used to authors having patience, which I relate to. And then once the Heroes of Olympus came out, I read those. I also read all the Kane Chronicles. I'm currently reading Magnus Chase and Trials of Apollo. That's still like an in-progress experience I'm having. I read Mark of Athena the day it came out. Like it downloaded onto my Kindle. I waited until midnight for it to show up, and I read it all in one day. And then I had to wait a year for House of Hades. And anyone who's read those books, the 3rd and 4th books of Heroes of Olympus, please understand my pain that I waited a year. Ugh. But yeah, that's how I found Percy Jackson. It's kind of boring. I read them. I found them. It wasn't that interesting. But what Percy Jackson, kind of like why I loved it at the time and why I still consider it my favorite, even though I haven't reread the complete series since middle school. It was a well-written series. I thought that it was well written, it was fun, it had adventure, it had so much humor, but it could also be very serious sometimes, and I loved all the characters, and I loved learning about Greek mythology, and it was just so much fun. I don't think I realized it at the time, but I really appreciated what this series did with Percy. Because first of all, it gave us a character who had a loving relationship with their mom, a really good relationship with their parents, because we don't see that much in a lot of books. Like the parents are either like they're fine or they're really bad or they're dead. You don't see as many like really strong, loving family relationships, and I was so excited to see that. We love Sally Jackson with all our hearts. She is my mom, she is my mother, and I love her so much. And I also love that like sometimes it feels like even the protagonists who are supposedly outcasts, there's not like a reason. Like it's like they're like, oh yeah, I'm ugly and I have no friends and I'm not talented at anything, but then they're talented at everything and everyone actually loves them and they're like conventionally very beautiful, and it just doesn't make sense. But I feel like Percy, Percy struggled in school. He got into fights, he struggles with his temper, and yet he's still such a good kid. Good kid, a good son. And it's like his failings in the school system don't define him the way that they sometimes define us in real life. Also the fact that you could take a kid who has ADHD and dyslexia and he gets to be a hero. I don't think I even noticed this while I was reading it as much, but the fact that we had a protagonist who could be kind of loud and annoying and not always get along well and not being able to always control what he says, that person could still be a hero and still be so loved and like taken seriously and respected. I'm literally like about to cry. That you could still like matter to people, and that those things aren't flaws, or that if they are flaws, that they're not like deal breakers, that you can still be an incredible person, and that sometimes those things can actually help you. Because I was the loud, annoying kid and I always have seen that as a weakness and as something that I should hide and stop, and Percy was honestly really helpful to be like, no, he's fucking awesome and I can be too. Okay, I'm just gonna go on to the review because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Lightning Thief. I just finished it yesterday on my 10-hour car ride to get back to college. I said this on Twitter, but I was secretly very terrified that I was gonna go into this book and I wasn't gonna love it, like it wasn't gonna live up to my expectations, or even that I wasn't gonna like it at all. Like I was gonna lose my mind if I didn't love this book. Thank God, loved the shit out of this book. There was so much nostalgia, and even if there wasn't nostalgia, like I think that definitely played into it, obviously, because like I love these characters, I've loved these characters for a decade, like I'm invested. But like the writing is so fun, the jokes are so good, the storyline I loved, the characters are so interesting, just the whole idea of this world is incredible. And I just want us to note, like, I will say until I die, and on my tombstone it will still say Percy Jackson is Latino. Like, I will rest on this. Like, we can headcanon about other things, but in my heart he has always been Latino, and he always will be Latino in my heart. Like, he's Latino. He's Latino. He's Latino. Okay, cool, cute. I will say that you can definitely tell in this book that there is a bit of a formula of like, we're going to this spot, we run into a monster, we beat monster, we continue on, we run into a monster, we beat the monster, we continue on, in like different ways, and sometimes the monsters are bigger than others, which like makes sense to the plot, because like they are literally two demigods and a satyr traveling across where there are a bunch of monsters, and Percy's kind of like a monster magnet because of who he is. But I do understand like that people might find that kind of annoying or repetitive or things like that. It didn't bother me. Like, I noticed it and I acknowledged it, but it didn't detract from my love of the story, and I thought it was fine. I can't tell if like foreshadowing of certain twists I recognize easily because it's middle grade, so they have to make it more obvious, or if it should have been more secret, or if it's just that I already knew the twists, so my brain was like picking up on everything. I do think that Rick did intentionally make it not super hard. Like, he wasn't trying to like keep it the hugest secret in the world. I did think he was good about putting foreshadowing throughout the book of certain things. I just did love though that whenever Percy, I don't know, it's just so funny to me, he'd see something out of the corner of his eye or have like a strange feeling and be like, it must have been my imagination. Blank weird thing couldn't really happen. Like, Percy, you're a demigod. Everything weird can happen. Probably check it out. I'm pretty sure who Percy's godly parent is not a spoiler, because this book been out since 2005. So like, if you don't want to be spoiled for that, I don't know how you don't know that, but if you want, then plug your ears for a second, I guess. But it was so funny to me that at the camp, the only thing that Percy is good at initially is canoeing, which is in water. He instantly gets refreshed every time he's in water. He controlled the bathroom plumbing, like shot it out from his own control, and healed himself with water. And everyone was like, I wonder who his godly parent could be. Like, there's just no clues to go off of. Like, y'all, this is like a bigger spoiler, so if you haven't read Percy Jackson yet and you don't want to be spoiled for like a bigger spoiler, I'll like wave my hands when it's over. Cute, cool. So I felt like Luke's treachery, I remembered it being more nuanced in this book. From my memory, I know it gets like there's a lot more layers on it, but his kind of thing at the end with Percy was definitely like a burn the world down and start new. I just didn't remember him being quite so like evil villain monologue about it. But like props also to Luke for being like, I'm actually not gonna be stupid and try to fight Percy while we're near a creek, knowing that he almost beat Ares, the god of war, in a fight. Also the fact that he was like, I'm gonna make this still look like an accident because I'm a smart boy, so I'm just gonna leave him with this little scorpion. Although, sucks for you, Luke, it didn't work. In my head, Annabeth was more torn up about what happened with Luke. Like, I know that we discuss it more in later books, and that we have like conflict between Annabeth and Luke and her trying to bring back and stuff, but for some reason I thought that in this book that she was gonna not believe Percy for a second, or that she was gonna be more torn on about it in the moment. She's kind of like, I can't believe that. Ugh, curse Luke. Which maybe I just like in my head read it less dramatic than how she did. And maybe that's also her not fully able to process it at the moment, and then later she'll have more issues. But for some reason I was just like, this is someone that Annabeth like idolizes and is one of her oldest friends, and she kind of has a crush on him. I feel like she would be more torn up about it. There aren't really many trigger warnings associated with this book. You do have to deal with loss of a parent, also dealing with abusive parents, in this case stepfather. There's like mentions of domestic abuse of like hitting. It doesn't go like super deep into it, but he does talk about it a little bit, so just be aware of that, I guess. Overall, I don't give ratings, but if I did give ratings, she'd get a fat 5 because yeah, I honestly don't know what else to say. I'm really sorry that this was a more boring video. I promise my other videos are going to be a lot more interesting because I have more ideas and more time for them. It was just a mess this week. If you're not in Demigodathon and you want to join, still feel free to join. Week 1 is done, but you've still got 4 weeks to slowly catch up. And even if you don't like finish all the books, who cares? Fuck, do I have an outro? I'm just gonna not do a fucking outro. Just whatever I do is what I do. Okay, so like, stand Perciveth, bitches.